You can't
No,
take care of me on the level that I take care of you. It's not possible. You could never. You could never. So it's just easier for me not to want those things from you because I know I can't ask you to do it because I know you can't.
and welcome to Struck by Enlightenment. I'm Kristen Bomas, and joining me today is Jessika Rodriguez. She is the VP of Human Resources with Towne Insurance, and she loves dogs, so we are going to get along great because I
Yay.
love my dogs, as you all know as well. So, Jessika, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. What do you come to the table with today? What can we open up as a topic of discussion?
I think the most prevalent one right now for me, and talking with other female colleagues who are about my age, about 47, 46, we've chosen not to have children.
Huh?
And we are being questioned in a manner, how could you not have children? And our response is, well, we have dogs. Like,
Right.
we don't need children. They're like, no, you're supposed to bring, you're supposed to have a family. You're supposed to do all these things. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And why am I valued less? Because I chose to be a professional or be more, I guess, I valued my career more than I value having children. And coupling that with my financial, irresponsibilities, I didn't think that I wanted to do that. I didn't want to be a mom. And I felt like I've known that for, I'm going to say, since I was like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
I knew that I just didn't want that for me.
Yeah.
And I don't, for lack of a better term, appreciate other women devaluing my place in my profession and in my personal life because I don't have children.
Right.
And I don't know if others or you or anyone else feels that way, but I feel like we are not as valued in the world because we don't have children.
Oh, I could tell you some stories. And I will share at least one of them because it was an unbelievable story. But yeah, I do think, and especially right now, there seems to be a lot of talk about that.
Mhm.
And it is choice. Again, a woman's choice. Do you want children? Do you not want children is your choice.
Mhm.
Men have the same choice. And when we have animals, dogs, cats, whatever we choose, that's also our choice. And we can have those animals to really fulfill the nurturance but it also the way it gives back is so different. And having dogs is I'm not going to pretend, and neither are you, that it's like having children. It's very different, but it's a choice.
Mhm.
And there is this, you use supposed to multiple times as you were talking. You're supposed to have kids. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to behave accordingly. You're supposed to be, valued only by blah, blah. But those supposed tos are the expectations of their familial lineage, the society,
Mhm.
culture, religion, whatever they are involved in that's kind of teaching. But those supposed tos are external to the truth of who you are on the inside. And I have found in my own life, there are women who struggle because they had children and they're not happy as a mother. They
Mhm.
did it because they were supposed to. And women who were unable to have children and at first were like, and are career women, and at first were like, oh, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden they hit their 40s and they go, I can embrace life. I'm not feeling like I did when I was in my 30s. I didn't realize how much of me felt a push to have the
Mhm.
kids because of the impact of those around me and not the truth within me. So sometimes life just graces us with that choice, one way or the other. It can be, a graced choice. But when it's our own, people think they're okay judging us accordingly. No, it's interesting. Comes from, for thousands of years, women have been defined through actually through men. Just be honest about it, right? It's been a patriarch
That's
for
true.
how long? And we need, this is a Christian opinion, it would be really nice to get women together and do kind of an incubator retreat where we sit together and really start to define ourselves as women through women, with women, devoid of any male influence, which is not as easy as it sounds. Like, we would really have to put some effort into doing that. And I had I did a small version of that many years ago, and it is fascinating to watch what happens for those of us as women who have careers
Mhm.
and lives, and how do we want our partnerships to look, and how do we want our lives to look, and how do we want to lead them? What are our bucket list may not include, being a mom. So, what do you, for you as a woman,
Mhm.
if you had to define yourself as a woman, not completely,
Mhm.
just around this topic, how would you do that? I know it's not an easy question.
So I think for me, I'm Black first.
Okay.
So then I'm female.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I
when you
follow.
were checking multiple boxes at a time,
Yeah,
um, it's important to respect other people's, um, I don't want to say culture because I just feel like that word is just so
I
overused.
agree with you 100%.
Their experiences,
Yes.
the things that they bring along with them. Some people call it baggage. I call it experience, whether it's
Uh-huh.
a negative or a positive. And I think for me, as a Black female, um, the way I think about the world is different because I now, with this whole DEI thing out there in the world, um, sometimes we, and not just necessarily me, but perhaps maybe Black women, women of color, women that are not Caucasian, I think sometimes we have imposter syndrome. Are we
Mhm.
supposed to be here? Is this what it's supposed to look like?
Wow,
Is
yeah,
this what I'm
yeah,
supposed to be doing? Because we are highly educated. I mean, I've got 2 degrees, I have a master's, I have a bachelor's, I've got 20 years experience in the field. And then sometimes you're in the room and you feel like, wait, I'm the only one, female and or non-Caucasian. So
yeah.
how is that supposed to work? Is this real? Is this it kind of thing? So the definition isn't easily defined because it just depends on the arena that you're in. Personally,
Mhm.
you're more accepted in your social circles because those are your social circles. Professionally, um, it's it's um it's tight sometimes because you don't want to be overly assertive. You don't want to be overly
Why?
confident because then you're the coin phrase that I was exposed to a couple years ago was passionate. Because I'm a very direct communicator and I am very attuned to what's going on around me in a professional
Mhm.
setting. And I had a conversation with the leader, and they said, "Well, I think you're being a little too passionate right now." And I said, "Well, explain to me what you think my passion is because it's not working." Like, no one dreams of working. So talk to me about where you think this passion is coming from, or are you trying to politely say, I'm being too direct, or I'm being too aggressive, or
Good
I'm
for you.
not being as quiet or as
Yeah.
palatable as you feel like females need to be in what was considered at that time a male dominated executive team.
Mhm.
So it's just all of those things are in your mind, well, or in my mind as a female in a leadership role, in a position of, okay, what are we doing? What are we saying? How are we going to say it? How do we invite people to think about things differently because they're so used to thinking in the same way? So, as women at the table, how do we invite males to say, oh, yeah, I didn't think about it like that, instead of trying to just implant this idea that you thought about that first, if that makes sense. Like a
Mhm.
lot of males that I've worked with and for, it had to be their idea or
Yeah,
it wasn't accepted.
yeah.
So there's a way to encourage and to politely pressure them into conforming into the way the thought process or the think that I
Yeah.
needed them to be in, because as HR, we're not supposed to pick sides. We're supposed to be fair, kind, and consistent, and we're supposed to make sure that what we're doing is risk avoidant. right? So
Yep.
how do I get you to not fire that person because they're going to sue us because you didn't do what you were supposed to do correctly? So it's just all of those things are in my mind when I'm actioning things or talking to people or listening to people. I think it's important to actually invest in active listening skills. Because then if you don't, you're too emotional or you weren't listening or that's not what I said. And then they'll ask a male counterpart, well, what did you hear me say? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, yeah, I heard you say that. That's not what you said. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's that basic sometimes. And I go through it with my husband. Hey, can you put that away? He'll just move it. No, put it away. Don't move it, put it away.
Yep.
So I think it's just a communication thing. I think we've been communicating this way as females for like what, the beginning of time? I
Yeah. Well,
mean, it's
from the
just
beginning, at the beginning of time, it was a goddess world and the women were, it was a matriarch. So things were quite different at the beginning, right? Then it switched to the patriarch, and the history on that is pretty fascinating. But I'm loving what you're saying because it's not just about having children, it's the whole package of being a woman and how we have been defined through our voice
Mhm.
or lack thereof, our bodies, in your case, color, sometimes more than that, right?
Mhm.
And it's really, again, the question, how do we define ourselves as a woman? And I think inside ourselves as women, if we ask ourselves, so you say black comes first, and I get that because, and I don't get that. Let
Oh,
me be
no, I
very, very
understand what
clear,
you're saying.
right?
I get it, and
I
I I
grew up
and I appreciate
white,
you
can't
saying
change
that.
that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I've been the only white person in a black,
mhm,
because that's just where I would end up.
right.
And first time I ended up in an all black event, I didn't even notice until I had to sit up front with my girlfriend. And I went, this is really cool. Like, it's different, but that's not all the way it feels. And I heard that come up in my thoughts, and I went, back yourself up and ask, because I'm white, right? So I don't really get it. And so that piece alone is powerful from you, just so powerful. And I want black and white and every other, you know,
Absolutely.
heritage to
Mhm.
hear what you're saying there, because it's hard enough to be a woman, but then when you add it with something that leads the way, that is also difficult in our culture, there are multiple things you're dealing with. Now, then, that woman steps into a male dominated environment of leaders. And now we have more layers to who
Mhm.
it is to be a woman. And so when I ask how we define that, it's inside ourselves, right? Like, I love who I am as a woman today. I remember when I first got into business, I led with my male energy. I was very, right? I
Yep.
was very clear.
Yep.
I was very intellectual. I was
Yes.
very
Very
linear. I
masculine.
was like, duck, duck, duck. And then one day I was like, I can do a better job of this as a woman, because as a woman, I have the ability to gather and to understand and to listen differently. So I'm going to bring the woman to the forefront and see what happens. Didn't lose the male energy. The male energy is there as well.
Mhm.
But I had to redefine the way the woman came to the table.
Mm.
And that came by identifying from within myself. And so there's a part of you that is, no one would describe you as less than a strong woman. That just presents itself. It proceeds, right? So that you don't even have to worry about. How you then bring the woman herself, that woman who has her own needs, her own thoughts, her own creativity, her own way of handling human resources for the company. Who is that woman and what are her views and her opinions? Um, those are so valuable. The imposter syndrome is part of how we're socialized as women, right? And now, being a Black woman, that part I can understand to a point again. So you bring these to the foreground so beautifully with everything you spoke of. And so that feeling of not being able to get that internal grounding of who you are as a magnificent woman coming to the table with your ideas, your innovations, your way of seeing things, your way of bringing people together. And who at that table could possibly have a better way, have better experience in life than you in taking broken, fragmented relationships and bringing them back together? You've seen it from many angles. So how do
Yes.
you bring that to the table,
So I
right?
think for me, I get a little put off, for lack of a better
Mhm.
term, when people say, "Oh, I don't see color," then you don't see people, because you
Yeah.
cannot see people. First and foremost, you see them before they even say a word. So I think to disregard that, in either a personal or a professional setting, isn't to me, it's not realistic, and that it's not a truth. It's
I
just
agree.
something you're saying to present yourself as either
Not at
an
all.
ally or someone
Yeah.
who is trusted or someone who can be trusted. So I like to invite people to back away from that phrase and
Mhm.
to embrace, you know, tell me something about yourself that is not on the resume, kind of thing. Like, talk to me about who you are as a person, because then, especially for women, talk to me about who you are outside of being a mom, outside of being a professional, outside of, all of the stuff and the things that we're responsible for in a traditional sense of women and womanhood, right? Tell me something about you. What makes you tick? What do you like to eat? What do you like to watch? What do you like to read? What do you not like to do? Like, talk to me about things like that, because I think we get so ingrained and entrenched in this traditional, oh, I got to go home, I got to cook dinner, I got to get the kids their homework, I got to give them a bath, I got to put them to bed, then I'm going to eat. That's how I grew up. So my parents
Mhm.
were very, y'all eat and then you go to sleep. And then they
Mhm.
had their time,
Mhm.
because that's how
Mhm.
my mom wanted to structure children in her marriage. And we were always my mom's responsibility. Like, my dad was my dad. Like, he provided and he did the stuff and the things that men are supposed to
Mhm.
do
Same in my world.
traditionally.
Mhm.
And then when they divorced when I was 8, I was like, "Oh, okay." So I saw my mom shift. I saw her shift from her soft girl to her
Mm.
masculine,
Mhm.
because she
Mhm.
had kids and she was a single mom. And
Mhm.
we aren't a statistic. My sisters and I are not statistically single parent children. We all went to private school. We're all highly educated. We had things in life because my mom made that happen. And I saw her do that with kids. And I'm like, oh, I don't want that. I want to do that over there, but I don't want to do it with you being hungry and needing a bath and needing
Mhm.
homework and needing shoes, needing
Mhm.
clothes,
Mhm. Yeah.
cars, college. I don't want that. Ew, that's gross. So I chose to focus up on the pieces of my mom that I were like, yes, that's your boss girl energy. Like, you're running companies, you're doing stuff, minus the family part. Like, I capitalized on that from her because she was very good at it. And I didn't like I didn't like the soft mom.
Right.
I liked the very direct, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, now let's go do it.
Yeah.
And I've learned that part of myself as I got older in my profession. I've learned to kind of tone her down, because she can be very loud, internally loud. I'm not saying
I
like,
hear you.
like
No, 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 I
very,
follow.
very internally loud and
Mhm.
very internally aggressive, where you itch and you're like, ugh, this is not, no, no, like, just do what I said. So I've learned to kind of shift more to the soft girl. I think that's what the kids are saying, getting in your soft girl era. Um, and it's uncomfortable for me, but I've learned that being uncomfortable means that you're learning, that you're
It's true.
stretching, that you're
Yeah.
developing past what you used to be. And
Yes.
I'm trying to find a little comfort in that, even though I'm extremely uncomfortable trying to do this whole soft thing. But I'm going to keep trying it.
Soft is strong in a woman. We don't learn that very well. But that gentle, graceful power that comes from within us leads that way softly and strongly. It comes from us, it emanates from us, and especially as leaders. We don't lead like a man. We never will. That's not what we're meant to. We have the male and the female to complement. We have those energies within ourselves to complement. We choose which side we come from at some level. It is still a choice, but it's not necessarily a conscious choice.
Right.
So I love what you said, that you grew up, you saw the traditional family structure. You saw your mother take over the family structure on her own. You admired, liked what you saw in your mother as, a real go-getter and doing what she needed to do. She persevered and she made things happen for the two of you that was beyond. And then you grew, and in growing, you made a choice to also be that woman who makes things happen without the pull, if I can use that word, is how it sounded when you're talking, of having to feed the mouths and take care of the children around you as well. Why do we call a woman's role traditional when it's at home with the children? Not that she's not going to work, but why do we call that traditional? And I love your interviews, right? You want to know about the person. Again, why have we defined a woman and traditional women as her roles in life in such a way that we don't allow it to grow, right? Like, tradition stays the same, but people do not. So that role stays the same, but the woman does not. So we are not defined as women through the role that we play. We can be a woman who is the role of mother. When I was 40 years old, I was told I would not have children in this life by a woman who came through my life. It was kind of an interesting story. We won't get into that one. And I thought, when I was a kid, I'd say, I'm going to have 12 kids, because those 12 kids turned into 12 animals. But I really thought I was going to have tons of kids, right?
Right.
And thank God I didn't. So at 40, she said, you're not going to have any kids. And I'm like, okay. She said, but you're going to be the mother of many. And I get that. I get that. And I was very honored to hear that. And I have taken that role in my life, which is very, very true, very, very to heart. I cannot tell you how I do my best to not skip a beat with everyone around me by being the mother to the many in whatever way I can be. And it has been quite rewarding at many levels. I have never once regretted or missed having children in my own life. I have plenty. Thank you very much. I love my animals. I love coming home to them. The amount that it takes for me to take care of the animals is plenty. I don't need the more challenging pieces of growing children. So we look at ourselves, just like you said in your interviews, you want to know more about them. And the roles we choose to play in this life do not define us. We define the roles. Even when we walk into work, if I took you and 6 other VPs of human resources who are women, they would all do that role completely different. Because we bring ourselves to the table. And when we start to define ourselves as that strong, gentle, gracefully powerful female who leads from that point, then we don't worry too much about how that guy across the table is taking it. We're watching him. And we know that sometimes we step on his ego when our idea is better or answers questions that he hadn't answered or whatever. And we can humbly step back, as you said yourself very well, and kind of massage it into a position where he can take ownership at some level as well. Step the ego out, let him feel not ostracized. But why do we have to do that? Because we're buying into a definition that isn't who we are. And so there comes a time where we define within ourselves who we are as that woman, right? Who am I? I'm not a girl any longer. I was a girl at 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a woman today, and I am in charge of my own business and a new venture taking place. I own my own home. I own my own car. I do my own travel. Why are you going to tell me that I'm less than? Only by virtue of a definition that was put upon us that would not allow us to leave a role behind. And that role did not define us.
I think a lot of times we walk in to things or just through life. Let's not
Mm-hmm.
relegate it to professional or personal. Just
Yes.
walking
Mm-hmm.
through life with a sense of, oh, I can't do that because
Right.
it's going to make so and so upset, or oh no, I shouldn't say that because then I'm going to look like the bad guy, or I'm going to say something that's going to offend somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that being conscious of other people's spaces in life and the place that we're not all at the same place, right? We're not all
No.
running, if we choose to, the same race, right? So I think that we get so caught up in the things that we have been so successfully engineered to conform to because it's safe.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
9 times out of 10, it's because a non-female has told us that this is
Yes.
safer for you. Trust me, I know
Right.
better for you because I
Right.
navigate the world up here. You just started navigating the world when you got the opportunity to vote, basically, or to get a bank
Right.
account on your own and start like surfing the tides of life outside of this box that you have been relegated to because that was the best place for you to be. It was safer for you there.
Right.
And I think instinctually, we want to break free. We want to break out. We want to do things that, are different, that are controversial, that are
Yeah.
putting us in spaces and places again that make us uncomfortable because we
A little
know
rebellious.
that's where the growth is, right? But there's
Correct.
something in
Correct.
there that says, "Ooh, be careful because that's not normal for you."
Yeah.
So I think it's talking yourself down um or into, hey, this is okay. Like I create my own safe space. Like if I want to jump out of an airplane tomorrow, I'm going to do that. But I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to have my parachute,
Yeah.
probably jump in tandem because I'll probably just freak out and not want to jump out of the plane at all. So we can put in our own bumpers or our own
Absolutely.
safety
Safety. Mm-hmm.
nets. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that we've been so not comfortable doing that it causes pause. And it's not a bad pause. It's just a hair on the back of your neck kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, do I really want to do that? Is that safe?
Well, I have a couple thoughts actually. One is I love what you're saying about safety. We were conditioned to think that we can't keep ourselves safe, that we need men to keep us safe. They are our protectors. We cannot protect. We are vulnerable to men,
Correct.
and men must therefore protect us. And we learn that at many levels as women.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that is clearly something that has been put upon us for so long that it at a cellular level, we just kind of just fall into before we realize the ridiculousness of it. And then
Mm-hmm.
we start to think, okay, now how do I catch up to that other way of looking at it? The other thing is, I'm going to expand what you said a little bit. Yes, I do think we become very conscious of those around us. And I think as women, that's something that, again, we're socialized to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as mothers, as women, we are the gatherers. We're the ones that create union and community, and we're the healers. And so that energy takes listening and knowing and paying attention and empathizing with what's happening around us. And so
Right.
we do tend to be a little bit more conscious of our effect on others. But because we're also trained that we can't stay safe on our own, we become very sensitive to, I don't want to upset them. I don't want to get them angry because I don't want my world annihilated or destroyed by that other human being.
Right.
And so we then stop to cater to the other side and make sure that they're okay, whatever that means to us. In this lifetime, and you've hinted to this in other areas, as we move back into the experience that we're having, and we trust in who we are and the point of reference from which we're coming, just inside ourselves. Because by nature, you are not the kind of woman to be destructive. outwardly, then if you stay centered, you free up all of that energy of trying to understand what's happening across from you, and you stay clearly spoken on behalf of yourself, your beliefs, and your innovation, and you go forward from that point of reference. I think oftentimes what we do, especially as women, is we're so busy worrying about others and being the caregivers of others and taking care of everybody else's feelings that we leave our own self behind. When it comes to communicating, we really do that from a point of our own experience as well. But once we learn to trust in the experience that's coming from us and use that as our point of reference, we see that everything comes back in a beautiful sequence with great fluidity because we're not interrupted by trying to read and assume what's happening across from us, which takes a tremendous amount of our energy. It really does.
It does. And then there's this whole part about waiting for that, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I like the instant gratification. I want it
We
right
all do,
now.
some of us.
I want the goose
Yeah,
that lays the golden egg
right,
immediately.
right. Well, yeah,
So
I don't
it's
like too much
learning
food.
to trust in the process, right? Like
Yes.
I think, to touch on what you said earlier, to obliterate, not to want to obliterate or actively take part in the obliteration of your comfort of your world. I think
Yeah.
that we do a very good job of that internally when we don't talk about our feelings and we don't talk about things that are harmful to us, and we just take it and we push it down, or we compartmentalize it, or we put it someplace else because we don't have time. No one has
Mhm.
time for that. Like,
Right.
we just got to keep going. Like, we can't stop, because if we stop and we sit in it, then it becomes a real thing. Then you have to deal with it, and then you have to process it, and then you have to
Mhm.
put it in its proper place. So as
Or
long
let
as
it
we're not
go.
doing that and we're still moving forward, as opposed to sitting in that thing that's the internal, like, blow up, then we're not forced to face pieces or parts of ourselves that need to be mended,
And
because
set
we've been
free.
doing so many things for so many
Yeah.
people that know
Yeah.
who's going to take care of us. You can't
Nobody.
take care of me on the level that I take care of you. It's not possible. You could never. You could never. So it's just easier for me not to want those things from you, because I know I can't ask you to do it, because I know you can't. So why would I set myself up to fail? Because you can't
So
do it
we want the golden egg, the immediate
immediately.
gratification, and yet what you're saying is you and I aren't mothers, but we as women raising our sons
Hmm.
have to stop perpetuating that pattern.
Yes.
We as women have to gather together and stop letting it be okay that when we get angry or direct or strong in our opinion and what needs to happen at that board table, that somebody calling us emotional
Hmm.
or take a breath, or maybe you need to step back for a minute, that's not okay. That's what's inappropriate.
Hmm.
Not me getting angry, not me being direct,
Right.
not me having the voice I need to have on behalf of something I know about. That's the insulting, um, reductive
Yes.
patterning that gets put upon women so insidiously that we don't catch it until after it's stoked those emotions that we have put aside because we don't have time
To
to
deal.
take
Yep.
care of ourselves the way we have to take care of everybody
Right.
else in their nonsense. So once we get to that place as women, where we as women are truly supporting women, we start to look inside ourselves and say, what do we need? And what do we need from one another? I sat here last night with two girlfriends of mine who are my age. We're older than you are. And all of us are professionals. All of us have multiple degrees. None of us have children. And we were talking about how we're taking care of our aging parents. My mom is going to be 93 this summer.
Mm.
And my girlfriend's mom, who's in her 80s, is in the hospital. My third friend just lost her father in
Mhm.
his 80s. And she took care of him while he was going through it. And we were talking about, okay, so who's going to take care of us? I said, honey, we're going to be the Golden Girls, and we are going to just join forces, and somebody is going to be in the house if we need it. But if we don't, we'll just take care of each other and we'll just have a great old time. And one of us said, I never thought about not needing to be taken care of in my old age because I've always had to take care of the elderly beings the elders in my
Mhm.
family. And I was like, we'll take care of one another. But like no one had thought about what is it like? One of the women said, have you ever allowed somebody to take care of you? And in unison, we all said, no,
No.
no, right?
No.
No. That's exactly what it
No,
was.
for
Like, no,
what? Because
are
you're
you
not
kidding?
gonna do it right.
Correct. Right. Oy.
Sorry.
So yeah, it's funny. And I'm going to tell you, this one story because it kind of pulls all of this together. There's a restaurant I frequent here in Boca, and I go by myself all the time for dinner, and I sit at the bar because that's the easiest place to sit as a single person
Mhm.
anywhere. And one day I was sitting there, and there was a British gentleman, much older than me, sitting next to me. And he introduces himself and whatever. His name was David, and we talked, and he said, yeah. And he goes, oh, and I'm going to have a birthday. Will you come to my birthday party? I said, well, if it's here and you're here, I'd be happy to say happy birthday. But no, I'm not coming to your birthday. I just met you sitting next to you at this, restaurant. So time passes and I see him a little bit here at the bar and a little bit there. And one day I walk in and I sit down and he's across the bar. And I say to the bartender, tell David, I said, hi. He goes, no. I said, what do you mean, no? He goes, no, he'll come over and sit with you. I said, of course not. He's in the middle of his dinner and I'm eating my dinner. Why would he come across the bar? He's going to come across the bar. Sure as hell. The guy gets up and makes them move his table and comes over and sits next to me.
Oh, David.
Proceeds to go on a diatribe that lasted before I got up and left. Now, I must tell you very, very clearly, and without skipping a beat, I was thoroughly enjoying this because I was watching how this man unraveled. He came over, he sat down next to me, and for, God, somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, he was on this diatribe telling me what a worthless piece of shit I was because I didn't have children, because I wasn't over on the other coast with my mother who travels, and why I'm not taking care of my mother. My mother doesn't need to be taken care of. I mean, he went, all you think that's important is working. You shouldn't be working. You have no purpose on this plane. You're useless. You're worthless. It went on and on and on. I'm trying to get the guys to give me a glass of wine. And they couldn't. And so he goes, in the middle of his diatribe, he goes, get this woman a glass of wine. So, of course, the bartender, who's about ready to punch him out, thinks he's ordering me one, and so gives him a glass of wine. So I listen, and I'm fascinated that this man thinks this is okay. And so I'm like, And so, I'm kind of egging him on, but not in a nasty way. Just kind of, oh, so then this. And he'd get further into it and further into it and further into it. So finally I'd had enough. And I said, well, I'm fascinated by your ignorance, and it's time for me to go. And I got up and I left. And the bartenders told me that he got worse after I left. And the two of them who know me very, very well, still in touch with the two of them, this was many years ago, almost dragged him out of the restaurant so they wouldn't punch him out. They were so furious with what he was doing at the table, at the bar. So this is kind of exactly what you're talking about, right? It was fascinating, genuinely fascinating for me to sit and watch how far this guy felt he was entitled to go at my expense without a single speck of regard for who I was as a human being. Forget anything else,
Right.
just as a human being. And we talk about these roles. There wasn't a thing that came out of that person's mouth that had anything to do with me being a human being, and only an object to the roles he needed me to play
Right.
to fit in a role that he needed me to be in. And so your question and how we kind of spread it out into other areas of being women is so powerfully unveiling to what we need to do as women in defining ourselves and in educating the culture, the general American culture as to who we are as women. Um, it would be, it's a feat to undertake, but it has to start one woman at a time, one generation at a time. And it has to be believed in to go forward. And that belief can only come from you and me and the other women.
I think so
So
many of us do ourselves a disservice because we don't believe that, right? We don't
Yes.
think that that is our responsibility anymore. Um, for what? It doesn't work. We've tried multiple times. Like it's not gonna um resonate the way that we want it to. And I think that if you I've always believed in saying the thing, right? Just say that, call the thing the thing. And it's
I
not my
agree.
responsibility to ensure that how you feel about that is okay, or
No,
I'm
it's
not
not.
hurting your feelings,
Correct.
or are you okay with what I said? No, there's a way
Yes.
to say things that are true and you can still be firm, kind, and consistent when you're
Mhm,
delivering the message. It doesn't lessen the weight of the truth. It
mhm,
just puts the onus on you to process that for your own self. And I
mhm.
think so many people are afraid to do that because of the reception that they're going to receive from whomever it is that they're having conversations with. I've seen this happen
Oh, yeah.
in my friend groups multiple times.
But again, that fear of the reception is refueling exactly the way we've been trained to not see ourselves,
Correct.
right?
Correct. And then you put
And
these, I
that's
was
it.
telling my girlfriend the other day, I said, your boundaries don't absolve you of responsibility. Just because you
No,
have this boundary in place and it's
no,
making you feel like people are disrespecting you and I don't like how I feel because somebody stepped over my boundary. I don't care. That's not my
no,
responsibility. Like,
no,
you
it's
cannot
not.
put your boundaries on people to
No,
absolve
you cannot.
yourself of being responsible for your person.
I totally agree with you. But if, on the other hand, because I'm not a big boundary person at all, so
I don't
I
like
love
it.
hearing you say that. But when you're coming from a place inside yourself where you will not tolerate disrespect,
Mhm.
where you respect yourself enough to not tolerate it, where you know where you stand on the inside, and somebody thinks they're going to walk up to me and disrespect me,
That's different.
I can promise you I will look right at them and say, I will not tolerate your disrespect. And I will walk away. Am I going to set a boundary for him or her? Absolutely. They can do whatever they want. They've got free
Mhm.
will. Go ahead. Just be an ass. I don't care. That's up
Mhm.
to you.
Mhm.
Me? I will let you know where I stand, where I am on the inside, and that allows me to stay within the experience I wish to have. But
Correct.
if my experience is being defined by those people out there, I don't know my own experience. So I try to set boundaries for those people out there. But the truth of the matter is, the experience, and you've brought this up repeatedly, the numerous experiences we have shared in our lifetime, that's what made me who I am today. And it's what made you who you are today. Any of those change, and we change in some way who we are today. So when we stand strong inside those experiences, your mother never faltered. She persevered. She didn't get the golden egg either. She had to believe day after day after day that the hard work she put in was going to create the experience for her children and herself that she knew it would. And it did. She had to believe. She had to keep putting that one foot forward.
Correct.
She had to go against the odds of how things were told to her.
Mhm.
If she didn't, then she would never have raised two magnificent women and been the magnificent woman she was. How do you do that? You had a sister?
Mhm. There's
Okay.
4 of us.
Oh, 4 of you.
Yeah.
When I said 2 the first time, I'm like, "Why do I think there were 2?" There
No,
were
there's 4 of
4 of
us.
you. Oh my
Yeah, and
god.
I'm the
Oh my
youngest of
god.
all of us.
I wonder if they can yeah, that is wonderful. How wonderful is that?
It's
How
not,
wonderful.
because when you are the one that ugh, let me rephrase that. Yes, there is wonder and amazement in who we are, and there's when we're all girls. So
Mhm.
there
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
are dynamics in place that are super great, and then they're super shitty sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I'm
Siblings
the
are
youngest,
siblings.
so I'm the take charge.
Oh,
Everybody brings it to fix it. Just give it to Jessica, she'll fix it.
yeah.
And my mom's 84. She had she had 2 strokes back to back.
Oh
So now
boy.
she's at home, she's recovering, but there's some challenges there, and I cannot, be there physically,
Yeah.
so I was having someone come in to take care of her,
Mhm.
and it alleviated a lot of my stress because if somebody was there doing it, that we trusted that's, licensed and
Yes, of course.
prepared for the worst case scenario. And that means that there was nothing, I could not compute anything negative because somebody's there. When your parents are older and you're thinking
Yeah.
about, oh God, what if I come home today and they're just dead in the floor,
Yeah.
or they've fallen and they can't get up, kind of thing.
Right.
But
Yeah.
somebody was there to alleviate that for me. And I was telling my siblings, I was like, okay, well, what are y'all gonna do? Because I've taken care of the immediate
Right.
need. So what's next for you? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? I mean, what's the
I love it.
what's the
Right?
question?
Right.
So I think about that. I think about them getting older. I think about who's going to take care of them,
It is not
um,
your responsibility.
because they are gonna need it, because they don't have the same strength level that I have.
Yeah.
They're very emotional beings, and I'm just void of that. I don't have feelings. I don't care. If it gets done, it gets done, and I'll figure it out. If they can't figure it out with me, then I'll figure it out by myself because that's our mom. Like, we can't not do it. So I think that they're just used to it. And to your point, I don't believe in boundaries. I do believe in not being disrespected. I do believe
Oh,
in
yeah.
that. That's just a basic fundamental, the basic hierarchy of needs. It's 1 through 7 or 8 is just, do not be disrespectful. Don't get disrespected. Like, just all of those things feed into what you will tolerate. And I think my tolerance is low because I just don't feel like we have time for that kind of thing. I don't think that that's a good use of time for him to sit there, using your example, and berate.
I
And
thought it was fascinating. It was not a good use of anybody's time, but how
no.
fascinating to hear the
Yes.
kinds of thoughts that go through these men's mind, or that man's mind,
Right.
right? Um, yeah, it was crazy. It was really in my mind, it was crazy. I couldn't even imagine thinking like that about any human being, but all women to objectify us at that level and think that you were entitled to just I was like, wow, what you do to women, you know. I
That's
didn't let
probably
any
why
other
he's
woman make me feel.
single.
Yeah, think?
Sir, there's
I
someone out there for you, but it's not
not
me.
no, no, nor am I gonna let anyone I know get even close. But, yeah, it's fascinating. I absolutely love everything you've brought to the table today. I think that, um, the synchronicity of this is amazing because I was just speaking to my business coach about, um, how I love working with women, but when we look at the marketing of the venture, is it women or is it men? And he goes, you got to start with one. He goes, you don't have to finish there, but you got to start with one. So I started with women, and this is why. So the synchronicity of our meeting is, for me, quite amazing. So I really thank you for that. I love that you brought up the children. I don't know that your answer really was given, but I think as women, we fall into I think we answered it by virtue of everything we spoke about. We have been not looked at as individuals with a life. We've been looked at as beings that have a role to play for the benefit of others, whether that's the benefit of economics and politics or men or whatever it may be. And there's a big push right now to get more children on the planet for for economic and political gain. And so that's going to be even more of a pressure on our younger women. And so, how do we really start as women to break the roles that defined us and let our being define us and let that being play the roles and not the other way around? And for you to respect your choice in such a way, which you do, but in such a way that when someone even dares to go against it, say, you're not looking at the woman, you're looking at a role in your own mind. And I would dare you to take the time to get to know who I am as a woman before you make your judgments and set that in your own way, set that message in
Mhm.
motion, because it is a time for people to start to meet us as women, as the person we are, the being we are on the inside, and what we bring to life and to the table in business. And it doesn't have to just be by birthing children. It's so, so, so much more. And so we talked about that. We talked about how the identity of women has been limited and reducted, and how we have not reductive,
Mhm.
and by virtue of definition, and how we really have to join together, unite as women, which we do very well, but do it in such a way that we're doing it on behalf of ourselves, which we don't do very well, and how we
No.
really start to stand strong, unified. And then you brought in the issue of being Black first and woman second. And yeah, that then adds a whole new dynamic to everything we spoke about. And we didn't even really get into that. I'd love to revisit that with you.
Sure.
There's a I'm gonna I'm gonna text you the name of a book. It's white women, something white women. Anyway, it came to me by accident, literally in the mail by accident.
Okay.
And it is amazing. It is amazing. I'm going to send it to you, and it's written by two Black women who are taking on the challenge of of everything we just spoke about. So it's just fantastic. Um, but I really would love for you to, I love everything you said and everything you brought to the table. I think that as women, we have a lot, as professional women, as educated women, we bring a lot to business, to life, to our culture, to our nation, to everything. And it's not because we have children or don't have children, it's because of who we are. And so may we make a change one woman at a time as we go forward, because I love everything you put on the table today. It was magnificent. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
I appreciate that. I think the dialogue's important.
I do too.
Conversation, I should say, is important.
Yeah.
We need more of
Yeah.
these types of
I
conversations.
agree with you 100%. Thank you.
Sure.
And thank you for listening. I wish you a life where you get to really define yourself as a woman and to define the women in your life. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining me, and please visit KristenBomas.com, where you can easily access all of my social circles.